Hola amigos! Welcome back to Latina Living History. I'm Katie, this is Josefina, and today we're going to get into some content that I know a lot of you have been waiting for. Sewing content and Josefina content, so get excited. So I mentioned in my Dia de Muertos live stream that I was stalled out on Josefina's China Poblana outfit because the next thing that I needed to do was to make her camisa, and I'm not very good at those types of garments. So I decided to put that to the side, and because the seasonal holidays are upon us now, I'm going to work on Josefina's Christmas outfit. The series of books covers approximately a year in the life of each historical girl, and in the middle happens to be Christmas. This is the outfit featured in that story, and it's right up my alley. Those of you who have stuck around for a little while know that I am into Regency. That is my preferred time period to interpret or reenact, and I just really love the aesthetic. And it's cute, it's yellow, I love it. So it's been really fun to get started on a project with such a nice sunshiny color in the dark days of November as they happen to be in the upper Midwest. And I've just really enjoyed the project so far. I'm actually re-recording this intro because we lost the one that we recorded at the beginning, so I'm happy to tell you that this project is going well. Spoiler alert. So this is a pretty traditional looking Regency dress. It's got the empire waist, puffed sleeves. This one's got some pleats in the back for fullness. And it has some nice touches that you use the fabric to do, like the bias sleeves and the cute little bias ruffle at the neck. So pretty straightforward and very much in line with what I would do given a fabric like this. I was also really happy to find this reproduction cotton that is very much in essence what the Josefina dress is, but also a really great early 19th century print with some kind of wiggly stripes and pretty flowers. Just overall really something that I enjoyed working with. For this video I filmed a lot of the cutting out and design parts of the process, but not a lot of the sewing. For one thing, I've done it all by hand, and watching someone hand sew a dress in real time is maybe one of the most boring things you could possibly do. Secondly, I did most of the sewing in my living room, which is comparatively a cave. The sewing room is nice and bright, but it does not have a TV, a sofa, or cats that want to cuddle me while I'm sewing, so the living room won out. However, really, the interesting things come from the way the fabric is used and the shape of the pattern. So that's what I captured on film, and I hope you'll enjoy the process with me. Other parts of the outfit that I'm not making include her shoes and stockings. These are just really cute little black flats. I have a pair of Robert Land reproductions from back when Robert Land was still making shoes that will go well with this, and some white silk stockings. She has really cute bloomers that I started, but they were mostly a children's garment, and I am not a child with a child's body, so I'm still working out how that would play with an adult body, so they're not going to be included in this video. Another thing is this really pretty black lace veil. This is a mantilla, and I have some black lace bonnet veils from the time period that I'll be using instead. She also has a fake tortoiseshell comb. I'm still working out how we're going to do that. There's lots and lots of vintage ones out there on Etsy and eBay, so I might end up going that route since it seems like making one would be maybe a little bit overachieving, but also maybe a little bit crazy. So we'll see how that goes. But for me, the dress is the main thing, so let's get going.
I started out using Laughing Moon number 138, which is an 1815 to 1825 gown. I traced the pattern in my size onto Swedish tracing paper, and then made a mock-up out of an old sheet. There were a few style lines that I wanted to change, so I marked those out on my own body in Sharpie, and then I'm going to work on transferring them to the pattern. Here you can see I'm taking some fullness out of the arm's eye, and I'm going to rotate it into the dart at the bottom of the bodice. There'll be extra fabric in the dart in that case, but because I already have to pinch the fabric out there, it doesn't really matter that there's a little bit more, and it saves me the effort of having to try and redraw seams. You can see I slashed the bodice all the way down along the line of the fabric that I need to take out, and then the extra ends up right in the dart where I want it. Of course, I couldn't find any clear tape when I was doing this, so here I am using packing tape from our previous move. I use scraps to true up the pattern, and then that piece is ready to go. The neckline on this pattern is pretty high, so I marked it down quite a bit and then transferred that to my pattern. Now it's time for the fun stuff. I really enjoyed working with this fabric, and if I'd been designing it myself, I'd probably have done some fun bias cutting to take advantage of the stripes. But Josefina's dress has the stripes going vertically on the bodice and then on the bias on the sleeves, so that will come later. Now, pinning and cutting everything out is kind of my least favorite part of the sewing process, but at least with a Regency bodice, the pieces are small and it went fast. Now at this point you'll notice that there's not any sewing footage. I think I mentioned it in my intro, but I did most of the sewing in my living room, which has terrible lighting. So this is all sewn by hand, but mostly it would just be me sitting on the couch with a laptop and a cat, moving repetitively with my hands. This is how I generally fit most of my bodices. I pinned in the center back, and then because the darts weren't pinned or sewn yet, I could slip it on over my head and then mark where they needed to be. On this bodice, I could unpin myself in the back, but sometimes I have to have Rich help me. He's pretty grateful that he doesn't have to actually help with the fitting though. You can see Josefina is supervising, but she's not very good with pins yet. I don't know if I didn't record it or if I lost the footage, but I didn't have footage of me actually sewing the darts or marking them. So I will tell you that I used friction pen and tailor's chalk along with thread marking to mark in where the darts went, turn them to the inside, and then sew them. After that, I trimmed away the lining that I didn't need in the center back and folded the fashion fabric over to where it would overlap. I didn't want extra bulk, so that's why I trimmed the lining out. You can also see in this clip that I had turned in the neckline, lining, and fashion fabric toward each other, and I used a fell stitch to attach them. I find that way easier than bag lining, particularly because then the lining doesn't try to roll to the outside. Make sure you clip your curves so they lay nicely. I'm going to demonstrate the fell stitch. It's a really nice, easy stitch that whips down the inner lining without showing on the outside. See, no stitches. I did a mock-up of the sleeve and was very pleased to find that it fit perfectly right out of the pattern envelope. I will admit my mock-up was very lazy. I did it on thin muslin and used my machine to do all of the stitching and gathering and then pinned it into the arm side. But that was enough with a puff sleeve that had so much ease to know that it was going to fit fine.
Yo voy a cantar esta canción para mi gente, con una pasión tan fuerte. Ay, 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 ahora sigo cantando y sigo gozando, yo sigo cantando y sigo gozando.
Now this is where I finally get to play with some bias strips. Here I am using a rotary cutter to cut the strip that'll become the neckline ruffle, and later on you're going to see me cutting the sleeves as well. Now this is the last of the construction footage that I shot because, again, I was sewing in a dark room, so I will just tell you that the sleeves are basically a shaped tube that I hemmed at the top and the bottom and basted onto the sleeve bands of the puff sleeves. And the neckline ruffle is roll hemmed and gathered over a cord and backstitched to the neckline. You can see I drew cheat lines on my sleeve pattern because I did not have the confidence in myself to be able to cut a right sleeve and a left sleeve mirrored. I'm happy to report that the cheat lines worked perfectly. I also don't have any footage of me doing the skirt because I always do my skirts the same way and it is very boring. I have 2 full widths of the fabric in the back and 1 angled panel in the front. I sew them together with a Mantua Maker seam, and in this one I left a slit for a pocket, so that's pretty exciting. This dress has a waistband, so I finished the bottom of the bodice with the waistband, folded over the edge of the skirt, and whipped them together. And that was basically it. So, get ready for the reveal soon.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for sticking with me through this process. I am insanely happy with how this dress came out, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. I want to give a shout out to my first 2 patrons, Amber and Kristen. I appreciate you guys so much, and your support is going to help keep Latina Living History in supplies. For more information on the Josefina project, be sure to follow me on Instagram at La Vida Josefina. You can find me on Facebook at Latina Living History and Patreon at Latina Living History as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Adios!